Hi, my name is Amanda Panacea, and you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This is a community for self-healers, biohackers, practitioners, and any other helping professionals. You're in the right place if you're seeking conversations about how pain becomes passion, the connection between physical, energetic, mental, and our spiritual self, finding your body's ancient wisdom, the latest biohacking technologies, clinical research, and if you just want to nerd out about complex biochemistry and quantum physics. But this is also for entrepreneurs who seek infinite abundance and a supportive community. So pour a cup of King coffee or Sisters tea and let's join the revolution. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healer Revolution podcast. I am Amanda Panacea, and today's conversation is one that is just so aligned with so much of my own story and the work I do now. And I've been waiting a really long time to have Paula Salas on the podcast. She is the creator of Somatic Repatterning, a method that brings together emotional, physical, and energetic healing to help us look at what might be underneath the persistent symptoms and patterns. And Paula and I have very similar stories. I actually came across her Instagram when I was really getting sick, probably like 2019 timeframe. And I was just so shocked and also relieved that I had found someone that had these really crazy rashes like I had all over my whole body. And Paula was one that had really brought to light many kind of crazy biohacks and healing strategies at the time that I was like, oh, well, she's doing it. She seems to know what she's talking about. Maybe I should get into some of that stuff too. And then in getting to know Paula a little bit better, I also found out that she spent many years with her own health struggles, with protocols, working on the nervous system, and just really looking for that next thing. And eventually, it seems like we both came to a really similar realization that you can know an enormous amount about health and still spend your entire life trying to manage and fix your body and really not get anywhere. So now she works with people, looking at the nervous system, stored emotional patterns, the relationship between the physical and emotional body, and what happens when someone has really spent most of their life, or at least many years, feeling unsafe in their own body. So her work, very similar to mine, blends science, intuition, energy, and somatic healing to help people move out of cycles of symptoms and that constant self-management. And today I really want to get into her story, what she is calling somatic repatterning now, what that actually is, and what she believes the body is holding on to, and where our approaches overlap, but also where our approaches differ. So I am super excited. I know you guys are going to love this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healer Revolution podcast. I am Amanda Panacea, and I am super excited with the long overdue podcast with Paula Salas, a holistic wellness practitioner. Hi, Paula. Thank you so much for joining today.
Hi, Amanda. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so I always like to mention how I found people. So I found you in my MCAS journey, and I
Yeah.
was like, wow, we have so many similar things in common.
It must have been like 5 or 6 years ago now.
It was definitely, I think, 2020
Yeah.
because I saw that you were doing low dose immunotherapy, and I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta ask her because that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to do at the time,
Yeah.
and I was like, is this gonna heal me? Please tell me it's gonna work.
When we're still looking for the one thing that's going to fix everything.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I know you have a really crazy story and just so many years of really like struggling, and now that you are on the other
Yeah.
side of it, I'd love for you to tell your story and kind of how you got here before we get into all the other fun stuff about what you do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think similar to you, I was always a really highly sensitive kid. Dealt with a lot of like the eczema, the allergies, the asthma, things like that. I went through a health crisis when I was young, and then was pretty functional throughout my like early teens, early 20s. And then in 2019, 2020, my health just completely crashed. and I developed severe MCAS, was diagnosed with chronic Lyme. I had horrible eczema. I mean, sensitive to every single thing, couldn't leave my house, couldn't eat anything. I mean, you know the drill, right? And that was like really the beginning of my healing journey. Like I was dealing with, extreme neurological symptoms, losing my memory. Like, I mean, it was just, it was really intense. And when I first started my healing journey, I think similar to you and probably a lot of people listening, my brain was like, okay, it's all got to be physical, right? And I went to a detox clinic in Mexico that, I mean, they like fire hose my insides is like the easiest way to explain it. It was just like really, really deep, intense detox, gallbladder flushes, like the whole thing. But that clinic was actually where I learned to muscle test. And I think that's kind of been the thread that's really taken me through my whole healing journey. And when I got back from there, it was a lot of just continuing to figure out like what was going on, what was wrong. I did parasite cleansing for like a year and a half. I was doing, as you mentioned, like LDI. Is it LDI? No, LDA. And just like so many things. And then about a year and a half into it, somebody told me like you got to deal with your trauma. And
Hmm.
I'd heard about the nervous system, like kind of understood it, but it just like I couldn't figure out how to actually heal that. And that was really when I got into emotional release work, which is now what I do. And kind of combining everything that I learned through that journey and everything that I've learned since has been kind of the vehicle. I don't know if this is even making sense, but the vehicle for like where I am today. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to kind of bring up because I used to watch some of the things you were doing and be like, oh, okay, she's doing that. I got to do that too. And you were one of those people that was really intense about like everyday coffee enemas and adding
Oh,
things to your coffee enema and taking pet dewormer and like
oh my
all
God,
of
I was insane. Like I look back, and it's funny because I talk to a lot of people about this, and I don't know how you feel about this, but like I don't know if I would be here now if I hadn't done all of that.
hmm.
And I don't know if I had to do it all over again if I would have done all of that, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think in like I think in 2020 I did like 600 coffee enemas. Like, and I wasn't working at the time. I lost my job, and so my brain was like, I mean, it was still in that total hustle. Like, you've got to like earn your healing, and it was like, okay, I'm healing for
Mhm.
8 hours a day today, and healing
Yeah.
means doing, right? And I mean, it was so intense. I was like I think I was taking like 8 scoops of carboxy a day at one point.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
God knows what I did to my insides.
Yeah, and honestly, that was very much part of the culture. Like I've noticed
Yeah,
that there's a lot of us that got sick in 2018, 19, and then definitely a lot of people in 2020. And the
yeah,
culture was like, do more. Like, how can I
yeah.
layer on and get these things out of me and cleanse and detox and take
Yes.
extra stuff and spend all my day doing these and buying
Yes.
all of the
Yes.
gadgets.
And it's like healing only happens if you're literally getting everything out all the time. And I mean, we could talk about this all day, but it's been so interesting to see the industry shift now, right? And
Yeah.
it's almost done like the full pendulum shift. And it's like the answer probably lies somewhere here. Right?
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit or go into why, especially with MCAS, why maybe all of those really sick, like severe and intense extreme things that you were doing might
Yeah.
not have been the best idea for those listening.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so if you think about MCAS, right, it's literally a house on fire, right? It is a body that fundamentally does not feel safe. And when you're literally hitting the body with all of these things all the time, you're sick, like you're just overloading a system that's already overloaded, right? And, I obviously didn't realize that at the time, but it was interesting because I think, a lot of my MCAS symptoms got better during that time. But I also developed a lot more of the nervous system based MCAS symptoms. So when you're looking at, histamine as the neurotransmitter, right, and how it's working that way in the system. And so it was like a lot of my like environmental sensitivities were melting away, but a lot of those more nervous system based sympathetic dominants were just totally kicking up. And so it was this very confusing healing window, right, where you're like, some things are getting better, but some things are just getting so much worse.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because I think there is like the way I kind of look at MCAS is it's definitely you probably got lots of toxicity, but
Yeah.
it's probably also driven by your nervous system and probably really significant nutrient deficiencies, bottlenecks in
Totally.
your cell's ability to do just the
Yeah.
basic things. So you might improve with addressing some of that toxicity, but the underlying reason that was there is you have to go so much deeper.
It goes so much deeper. And it was only in the last, it was like there was 2 years where I was really looking at like the energetic and emotional piece, right? And like that helped with so many things. But like you mentioned, that nutritional piece was the one door that I hadn't really opened. And it was like when you combined all of those, your cells finally go, oh my gosh, like I can settle, right? And I mean, that was a really beautiful realization and healing for
Mhm.
me. Yeah.
Like that you pointed that out, even though you're doing like emotional clearings, that
Yeah.
no, we still need the basic building blocks of
Oh my God. One of
being a
my
human.
One of the main things that I say to my clients, like in every session, is your nervous system runs on nutrients. And like
Hmm.
your body cannot do what it needs to do without like the fundamental material, right? And I mean, it's really interesting for me because I've been doing, emotional clearings on people for 5 or 6 years now. And I've always seen there's clients that really struggle to process and release trauma, and they go into these like really deep healing crises. And it took me a long time to understand like what is it that's kind of keeping these people from being able to metabolize the clearings. And it wasn't until I understood the nutrient piece that it made the rest of it make sense, right? Like if you don't have those foundational building blocks to actually process, like I mean, it takes energy to process trauma, right? And so that has become a really foundational piece, like within my one-on-one clients, where I'm not creating protocols for them per se, but it's like we're filling those gaps because those also have to be there, right?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like I always try to give like a hierarchy to my clients, and if you are in insulin resistance or like severe mitochondria depletion, it's going to be really hard for anything you do to stick
Yeah,
because you need the energy to do
you need
that.
the energy to do it.
Changing your mind takes energy. You're
Yeah,
going to feel the way you've always felt unless you have the energy to change your mind. And because our body runs on, the food that we eat, turning that into energy, that's a bigger priority than processing your trauma sometimes, in my opinion, at
I
least.
agree.
Like,
I
or
agree.
at least you got to work on both at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you can't do anything when the tank's on empty,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for let's say somebody comes to you is really depleted,
Yeah.
allergic to everything, having a hard time eating. They're like, Paula, I hear you, but I can't eat anything. I'm reacting to everything. Where do you like to start with people? Like, tell me about your process with these emotional clearings. Are you
Yeah.
doing like a scan and how does that work?
So my fundamental belief in all healing is that it all starts with safety, right?
Hmm.
And safety in our body and our nervous systems. And what I've learned through, the clearing work that I've done is our body, especially when we're just pinging everything in our environment, right? We're pinging everything. It's like your system's like creating attachments to all these different things, right? And so you suddenly are overloaded by the attachment that your nervous system has made to everything being a threat. And so typically what I do with these clients that come in that are just super, super sensitive, we start really low and slow to start. And a lot of times people come in and they're like, I want to address this trauma I had when I was 5 years old and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, right? We're not ready for that because that takes energy. And so typically, especially in the beginning of working with clients, we're not looking for like deep transformation, even though that's what you want, you're looking for relief. And so, how is it that you can access the system to take away what the system is like capable and ready to let go of without overloading it, if that kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
And so all of my sessions start through like a filter of intention. And so, like, depends on the client. Sometimes I'm really just going like, I am safe. Sometimes with clients, kind of depending on where they're at, we'll do something more around like, I'm safe in my body, I'm safe in my environment, and just like releasing the like perception that they need to be vigilant to everything around them and just helping them kind of like calm down that those inputs. And
Mhm.
we keep it short. Like we keep it really simple. For a lot of my clients, when we go through, so what we're doing is really like muscle testing. Okay, what is the body holding? What are the memories? What are the emotions? What are the patterns? Cell danger response, as you can imagine, comes up a lot in sessions. And so we're clearing like what's driving cell danger response? Like what's driving this body to not uptake B1, right? Like what are these different things? And then for my highly sensitive clients, as you can imagine, a lot of them can't even drop into the body, right? And so we
Too
typically will
scary.
keep, yeah, it's too scary. Like the body was not a safe place to be.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my clients in the beginning, our sessions are short. Like we're not dropping into the body, we're just letting it go, and we're not giving you any extra inputs to deal with so that you can just kind of move with that. And then once that moves, you handled it well, then we kind of just keep slowly stacking and building. And I'm just thinking of one of my clients right now who, when I first met her, she was just like could not function, couldn't drop in. And now I think the last time I saw her, we did like a 10-minute drop in and like she can handle so much more. And it's just, I mean, it's beautiful to see that journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I have a very similar process. I don't do any muscle testing, but
Yeah.
with like somatic therapies that I use, I'm telling people we have to go so much slower than you would even think that we need to go.
Yeah.
And I learned that over the years, thinking, okay, we're going slow already, and now my process is even more slow.
Yeah.
So
Which people hate, right? They're like, I want it
yes.
now. Well, and it's interesting, like, we were talking about that like inability to drop into the body. And I think about
Mm,
my own system and like, I mean, when I first started this work, like I couldn't be anywhere near my body, right? Like you told me to
yeah,
meditate, you told me to drop in, like I couldn't do that.
yeah,
And
no way.
what was so helpful for me about the work that I do now is I was able to like go around my nervous system, if that makes sense. Like you're able to be like, oh, you're carrying fear. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's the emotion that I'm feeling. And then you just let it go versus like having to drop in, find the fear, or feel the fear and like be with it.
Hmm.
And so that was like, I think that was a really profound thing for me and being able to kind of go around it without having to like sit with it. And then it created space for me now to be like, oh, I'm feeling this and now I can move through it. Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now I can experience it. Yeah, absolutely. Like where I usually start is just, can I notice this thing happening? We're not
Yeah.
going to do anything with it,
And I
but
notice
do
it.
I notice
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Don't feel it yet, just notice. And
Just
everyone's
notice
like,
it.
what is this doing? And I like to warn people, it's going to feel like we're doing nothing, but like you said, there, like it continues. We layer more and more on as time goes on. And then,
Yeah.
6 months later, you're like, okay, do you see how that whole process led us to here? And now you're feeling different. And you can then kind of realize, wow, yeah, it's all coming together now. I didn't understand it at first. But if you kind of tell people, you can probably relate that let's just jump to the last step, they're not going to be able to do it. And it's
Mhm.
also, they're going to hate
Yeah.
you and think they wasted their money because
Right.
they're like, no, I want this to change. How dare you tell me it might not even change? And I just will feel differently. I want it to change right now. So, yeah, okay. It sounds like we're on the same page with a lot
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Well, it's like an onion, right? It's like you can't get to the
Hmm.
core until you start peeling out what's around it, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I always tell people like your relationship to the symptom is what's going to change. You might still have the symptoms and
Yeah.
you might still feel all the things and you may even feel it more intensely at first as like things calibrate, but eventually everything will soften because so many of these symptoms could be related to that cell danger response, hypervigilance,
Well, and
your
it's like
fascia holding your posture. Yeah.
Well, and it's like the relationship to the symptom is part of what keeps you stuck in the cycle with the symptom, right? It's
Hmm.
like the more you fear the thing, obsess over the thing, try to fix the thing, try to heal the thing, right? It's keeping you in relationship and engagement with it, only giving it more attention to be there, right?
Yeah.
And being able to shift that, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm sure it's like the goal isn't to be totally symptom free, it's to be able to live our lives even with, right? And I think that's something you and I have both mastered throughout this healing, right?
Yeah. Years and years of
Yeah.
practicing and
Yeah.
reparenting and allowing and letting go of that resistance. Because that's kind of how I look at the like way that most people come into this work is I cannot tolerate this. This has to change right now. I don't want to experience this. And you're just in that massive resistance to what's happening. You're
Yeah.
in so much resistance to reality. And we can kind of move into that radical self-acceptance, which takes practice and repatterning and different
Yeah.
experiences and talking to yourself differently and showing up differently. Once you reach that radical self-acceptance, then all of these things no longer means something about you. And I think that's the piece that is hard to understand in the beginning. Like right now, the symptoms and the intensity means I'm broken. There's something wrong with me.
Mhm.
I'm different. I'm othered in some way.
Well, and as long as it has that power over you, right, you're going to stay stuck.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit more about muscle testing, because I never mastered muscle testing. Like I tried. I took so many courses and was taught so many different ways. And I don't know if it's me, maybe I should try again, or if it's part of my limiting belief system around it.
What
Um,
was your block to it? Now I'm curious.
I just get different answers every time, and I
Not
just don't feel
intuitive
like I'm
answers.
good at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I used to think like I wasn't intuitive at all. And so that has
Mm,
changed because I know that I am just in a different way. It's not like a felt sense like with muscle testing. I
yeah.
just like know things and it's
Yeah.
more cognitive.
It's
I
interesting.
don't,
I know I have friends that are the same. They're like, I don't rely on muscle testing, but like I'll just see a supplement and I'll know, right? Or I'll
yeah.
just see this thing and I know. And I mean, muscle
Mm,
testing is really the way of capturing that. What I think
yeah.
is interesting is like, even in myself, like I think people think when you muscle test, you should be able to be completely consistent across different modalities.
Mm,
And I don't even know that I believe that to be true. Like I find my pendulum gives me the most accurate answers. Because when I'm using my body, I think there is a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Bias with muscle
hmm.
testing. But for anyone that's listening, is like, Paul, you never told us what muscle testing is. It's really just a way of getting yes or no answers from the body. And I used this originally as, when you're a highly sensitive person, everything is a threat. Nothing feels safe. You don't know what's working. You don't know what's not working. And so muscle testing for me was like the first window into starting to understand like what my body needed in real time.
Hmm.
And so the clinic that I went to that I mentioned in the beginning, they muscle tested every single day. And so every treatment, every supplement, everything, every food was muscle tested. And when I did that, it was interesting, which actually this might pull into the inconsistent answers for you. But when they did that, it made me realize like our body doesn't actually operate in these structured protocols. Our body actually operates in these waves, right? And so there's almost this like build up and then it comes down and then it builds up and then it comes down. And it made me realize like what I want on a Tuesday is definitely not what my body wants on a Friday, which a lot of times when you teach muscle testing to the people, they're like, well, I tested for this supplement yesterday and now I'm not testing for it today. So therefore my muscle testing must be broken. And the
Hmm.
reality is, well, your muscle testing is looking at like inputs every day. What can it utilize? What can it not? What can it receive? Right. And so there's a little bit, I don't know, it was a very interesting paradigm shift for me with that.
Hmm.
And so that was how I first was introduced to muscle testing. And this was how I like all those years when you were watching me be crazy on social media with all the crazy stuff I was doing, I was muscle testing it all. And so and it's also interesting to see like you're muscle testing through your own paradigms,
Yeah.
which you can only see as much as you can see, which is also like an interesting thing about muscle testing, right? Um, but I think this is where, the work that I do now became that like natural evolution because now we're using muscle testing not to just like be like, what supplement do I need? What biohack do I need? Like, what do I need to do at any given moment? We're looking at like, what are the different emotions, blocks, traumas that are showing up in my body that are creating or connected to this thing that I'm experiencing. And so that's more how I use it now. And it was able for me too to be like, anytime I had a symptom, I'd be like, is this physical or is this emotional or is this energetic? And then I'd be like, can I clear it? And I started realizing so many of the symptoms that I was experiencing when I would go through a release, I could map out what was driving it on an emotional level and the symptom would just resolve. And I was like, oh, I don't need all these supplements, right? It's actually connected to all of this. And that really became kind of the foundation for what I do now.
Yeah. So I like that like self-inquiry of
Yeah.
like, okay, here's my intuition, or like at least finding it. Like, is
Yeah.
this, or this, or this? Because that's kind of how I was feeling about muscle testing. Like, I already know these answers. Why am I even asking
Why
my
am I
body?
asking them? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because I can just feel like I know the answer to this without, like, why am I asking my
What?
body to show me? I
Yeah.
already got it
Yeah.
just by asking that question.
And you like, and I think that just shows me that you already have your anchor of trust, right? And
Hmm.
I think it can be a really beautiful tool for people who don't have that anchor yet, right? And so it
Hmm.
can be kind of that segue into like, hey, I've never known what my body was telling me. I was so disconnected from her. What did she want?
Yeah.
Now here I can kind of work with it, but also like being able to just be like, I know what I need, right? I know
Hmm.
that I need this thing.
Yeah. That can definitely get clouded when you are so afraid and you're vulnerable
Yeah,
and you're like, I need an answer right now. I need something that's
totally.
control so
Totally. Well,
I
and
can
it's
feel more in control.
totally. Well, and it's interesting because there's a blessing and a curse with this skill, right?
Mhm.
It's one where it's really beautiful and it helps you to understand things and helps you to move through your life in a better way, but it also can keep you totally locked
Hmm.
in a prison of control and perfectionism and just using it in a way that's like keeping you cycling, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah, I've worked with people that are stuck there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And they'll send you an email every day that their muscle testing said that they didn't want the things we talked about, or, I'm getting different answers. I'm confused now. Talk about like if somebody is learning to muscle test, what are some boundaries that you should maybe have around it
Mhm.
so that you don't fall into that trap of like, I need to muscle test. I can't trust anyone or anything without it.
It's a it's interesting because it's like a tough question, right? Because it totally depends on the person and like where they're at. I think like I think if you're at a place where you like can't seem to trust anyone or anything, right? Like somebody's giving you a protocol and you're feeling the need to like constantly move against the protocol, but then you're using that information as like this person is right or this person is wrong. It's so counterproductive to your own healing, right? And I think, I tend to like toe the middle line where I tell people, look, like if your intuition's telling you you don't need this every day, like, and you want to trust that, trust it, but you can't look at it as like this practitioner is wrong because they told you something on a Tuesday and on a Friday, you're feeling like everything is wrong, right? The reality is your body's moving through, like we mentioned, these, right? And so
Yeah.
there's also ways to muscle test and asking like, you know, if you're asking like, does my body want this right here, right now in this moment? The answer might be yes or no. But if you ask your body, like, would you want this every single day for the next 2 months? It's a totally different question,
Yeah.
right? And so I think there's, I always struggle with the line between outsourcing our intuition and
Hmm.
learning to trust ourselves, because I think learning to trust ourselves is a really, really important part of healing. but not using fear to keep us stuck in that holding pattern.
Mhm.
I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm thinking of like, okay, we want to be able to learn to trust ourselves. And then we also have this modality that seems like it could help with that. And then we also are kind of, like you said, it can be biased based on just what you know.
Mhm.
So you're going to
Exactly.
see what you expect to see. Kind of like how I explain if you go to somebody to do NAET, I'm sure you did a lot of that too, which is like that allergy elimination technique. They'll muscle test you. But if you go to somebody who's very traditional Chinese medicine based, they're going to talk to you in that language and they're only going to be able to see what's going on through the lens that they know. They're
Right.
not all of a sudden going to know things that aren't in their
Right.
wheelhouse. So like if you feel like okay maybe I'm a practitioner or I've got a lot of knowledge, I trust myself in that way versus like going to somebody who's like a very small scope or someone like you who's been in this space a really long time that knows how to refer to things in a
Yeah.
variety of ways and how things are connected instead of just, oh, I did a weekend nutritional course training or, you know,
Right.
whatever the thing
Right.
is.
Totally.
It's going to be different based
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
who you're interacting
Absolutely. Yeah.
with.
It's all, it's an interesting like space.
hmm Yeah. So I'm sure you get this a lot. Like that's why people trust you because they're like, well, you know about all these things.
Yeah.
Because in this healing space, it's like, well, I tried to go to this person, but they only knew about this
They don't
one thing that they
understand.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem in healing so many times. It's like people's scopes are so narrow, right? And
hmm
that's the beauty of both what both of us do, right? Like we've lived through so much that we understand so much. And so you're able to look at things through a wider lens.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. And that I think is more helpful because in today's world, like everyone is getting all sorts of types of testing, working with multiple people, and everyone's telling them different things.
And
And
it's so confusing, right? And
yeah,
it's like, I mean, my advice to everyone is just like distill, distill, distill. Like you don't need 14 people running your healing, right? And
hmm
just creates so much more confusion for
hmm
everyone, right?
yeah. So what are some of the ways when you're working with somebody that you help to give them resources for feeling safer,
Hmm.
since that's step one?
Um, so a lot of times in the beginning of my work, I actually don't give them a ton of things other than breath and allow
Mhm.
the clearings to kind of work for them. So
Mhm.
my approach is a little bit different where we're really saying, okay, we're just going to start peeling some of this away and let your system recalibrate to safety so that you can then start to access it yourself, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so in the beginning, like, you know, a lot of gentle things, like even just like reconnecting with your body, like doing some breaths, doing like the, what is it, 4-7-8 breathing or 3-4-6 breathing. And then sometimes for some people, that's like too much, right? For
Mhm.
some people, like even just like doing anything becomes too much. And so it's like, how can we just like start to release? So then as we release, we can build more capacity for safety. And that's what I've like, it's interesting because my approach is almost very different from a lot of like the somatic approaches in that way. Because where we're really working is like, let's let go of the things that your system recalibrates to safety versus like finding ways to tell you you're safe. And then as that moves on, then bringing in the tools that can help you self-regulate, like in between. Like sometimes I'm literally like, go sit in the shower and let the water run down your back and activate your nervous system, right? Like that's your somatic tool for the day. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, they get to be that. It doesn't have to be a whole like routine where you do it for
Routine.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
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 It's literally just like, can I feel my hands as I'm washing them? Can
Yeah.
I notice my toes moving as I put on my shoes? Like the things that seem so simple
Yeah.
are actually the biggest, best first steps to start
Yeah.
to like bridge that connection back.
And starting to notice too, like, notice the moments where things do feel okay, right? And like
Yeah.
noticing those moments, those glimmers of being like, oh, and using that to expand your capacity to hold it, right? And feeling like, okay, things aren't always activated. Right.
Yeah. 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 That's part of this process of like recalibrating to what is okay and beautiful and
Hmm.
that
The
feeling
glimmers.
okay or neutral. Yeah. Yeah. Glimmers. Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. And like I always say, because it's funny, you just mentioned neutral, and I always think about it. It's like, you know, when we start this work, we're over here feeling like so chaotic and overwhelmed and like everything feels unsafe. But somehow, still from this place, our brain wants to manifest like all being all the way over here and being like perfectly
Yeah.
healed and joyful and all of these different things and expressed and manifesting all of our desires. And what I always try to orient clients to is like, you're actually not going to go from here to here. We first want to get you to neutral, right? So
Yeah.
like if you can just start to feel neutral, that's like really, really powerful because from neutral, and you're obviously going to still do this, right? But from neutral, you're able to actually come into expansive and expressive healing. We can't do that till we get to neutral.
Yeah.
And that
I
takes
totally
time.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to kind of point out that a lot of the modalities out there that are talking about like, oh, just manifest
Oh
your
my
next step is like beautiful,
God.
you're abundant and all of that. It actually makes people worse because they feel so much shame about not being able
So
to
much
do
shame.
that.
So much
And
shame. It's
it's
funny.
yeah.
I've been reflecting deeply this past year on where I was 6 years ago, and
hmm
the way that I wanted to be in my life, and like the way that I wanted things to flow. And for so many years, I had so much shame that I like wasn't getting to this like ideal manifested state. And it
Right.
has been 6 years, and I'm finally now in that place that like 6 years ago I wanted in 3 months,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so much of that came from accepting,
Mhm.
surrendering, right? And like, I think too, like this, like, I mean, trust is such a big piece of the healing journey. And it's like, can I trust that healing is mine, even if I don't know the timeline and the order of events in which it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right? And even when things like feel like they're going backwards, can I trust that I'm moving towards something? Right?
Yeah, I talk about this too. I see, I knew we had so much in common with our like the way that we progressed through. Again, kind of back to that, when you're in resistance to what's happening, you're not going to be able to manifest.
No.
And I don't like that word very well, but I don't have a better word for it. But when you
Well,
are in acceptance, the channels open up
yeah.
that you don't even have to do the things because they can come to you.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do when you're in that like fight or flight, cell danger response. I need it to be different right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, if you think about it like from a frequency perspective, right? Like if you're trying to manifest the frequency of this thing and the frequency of
hmm
your body is all the way over here, and then everyone's telling you if you just like do gratitude all day, you're gonna like change your
Yeah.
frequency. You're not. But like understanding like from here, like we're looking for frequencies here. Like this is, I don't know if anyone's gonna see this, right? But we're like trying to kind of move this way.
hmm
And like you can't manifest from like a totally unresourced self. Like if your nervous system and your capacity is so small, like you can't hold the thing that you're trying to manifest. That's actually maybe what I'm trying to say. Like you can't, if your capacity is this big, you can't hold something that's this big. You need to work on expanding that capacity to hold life and be in your body. And as you expand it, you can hold the thing that you want, right?
Yeah. I had a mentor once, she said that when she made her first $1 million, it wasn't a surprise because she had done everything to do that up until that point. Basically saying like if you don't follow the steps, it will not just fall out of the sky and you
Yeah,
can't go from 0 to 100. Like
yeah,
you got to go little by little. And I
yeah,
think that also is why like a lot of the social media marketing is so messed up because they're like in 8 months or in this 6 weeks program or
Totally.
promise like you're gonna feel totally different at the end of it or have a result. And again, who gets that? Like more
It,
shame and you
it
feel
doesn't
worse.
exist. It doesn't exist. And this is like, and it, I have such a hard time with all of these things, right? Because it's like you can't sell transformation in 6 weeks. You can't
Right.
sell transformation in 8 weeks. Like, and I tell my clients all the time, like they'll be like, I signed up for this program and it's supposed to be this like all-encompassing root cause program. And they're like, I have it for 4 to 6 months. And I always tell them, I'm like, look, what you learned in month one is going to take you at least 4 months to integrate. And what you learned in month two is going to take you at least another 4 months to integrate. So this program that was 6 months is going to take you at least 18 to 24 months to fully integrate if you follow it all the way through.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and it's also like, it's not the practitioner's fault or whoever's selling it's fault. Like nobody's going to sit there for 2 years, right? Doing this.
Or want to buy something that says it'll take like 3 years.
Right. And nobody's going to want to buy something that you're like, I'm not committing to 2 years of my life for this. Right. And so what I always kind of tell people is like when you do these things, take what resonates, take what you can and like build on it and leave the rest, right? Like it's like we can only intake so much information at once. Like our brains aren't meant to figure out how to heal everything in 8 weeks. Like it just doesn't work.
Oh yeah, no.
No,
Otherwise, everyone that became a counselor or did a school program would be magically healed with awareness right after.
totally. Oh, don't even get me started on awareness versus integration.
Right, exactly. I would like to hear about how this method like is much different than other trauma healing modalities.
Yeah,
Like traditional therapy, I think most people can agree, yeah, we kind of know now that doesn't always work just talking about your problems. You get
yeah.
really stuck and it doesn't move through you. So tell us a little bit about how this is going to be different than other modalities out there.
Yeah, so somatic repatterning, what I see it does is it flows across a lot of really important points in trauma healing, right? Like one, we're bringing awareness. So all of our sessions are starting with, working with what's alive. And so you're having that like conversational piece of like what's here, right? But a lot of times there's so much that we're experiencing that we don't have language for, we don't have understanding for. We might not have memories for it, might not feel safe to access those memories, right? And so let's say, I'm trying to think of an example. But really, what we're able to do is coming in and both talking about what's coming up. So you're able to bring language and awareness to it. Then we create an intention. So, what is it that you actually want to draw in, manifest, right? What is it that we want to draw in? Or a lot of times, what do we want to let go of? But instead of being in, and sometimes we do, it depends on the client, but instead of having to be in a deep somatic experience with it, it allows you to just bring like casual awareness to what's happening. And so I'll actually use myself as an example. When I used to go to talk therapy or do any type of healing, when things were brought up for me, they triggered some type of trauma loop. And so if somebody would say, "Oh, I think this pattern is XYZ," or they would like hold a mirror up to me, my whole system would shut down, shame would kick on, and I would be like completely looping, right? Or I would access something in my body, it didn't feel safe, I didn't have the resource to deal with it, and everything just kind of got overwhelming. And where this work was really powerful for me, and I see it with my clients, is we're able to really passively be like, okay, so I'm seeing that there's a belief system around safety showing up in your body. And there's a memory from when you were 8 years old attached to that, connected to XYZ. And so instead of the client having to go and find that themselves, they're almost like experiencing it through this, like, I don't even know how to say it, but like it's just like it's more passive, like through a passive lens.
Mhm.
And
Like
so
becoming the observer of
yeah,
it
like you become
instead
the
of in the
observer of
experience.
it versus
Mhm.
being in the experience of it. And then we take them through integration where they actually integrate and release that in their body. And so instead of just bringing awareness, now we're coming into the close where instead of just being like, okay, cool, I learned all this stuff about myself, but now what?
Yeah.
Right? We actually release it from the body. And so all of those memories, the stored emotions, the experiences that you're holding, we actually clear it. And what you find is the system comes back into balance, right? And I mean, I've seen crazy things where, you come in and you're just ruminating over and over and over again. You can't turn the mind down, go through a session, all the things that you were thinking about, all the things that were driving you nuts, gone. And then you just move on through your life, right? And so I think that's been the most beautiful piece that I see for clients, in that it allows you to have integration and awareness at once, so
Hmm.
that it's almost like the ball's just like continuing to roll through your healing. Did
Hmm.
that make any sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I'm so long-winded. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like to check in with people as well. I'm interested. So, like, when there is a release, what is really happening? Like, are you connecting to the quantum field? Are you connecting
Yeah.
to creator? What is the like
Like,
sciencey
how are you doing
definition?
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're familiar with like emotion code, body code, like all of these modalities like clear the same way, and you're swiping, I do it a little bit differently, but you're essentially connecting to the field. And we're using the governing meridian as kind of the space where we're clearing. And so we're swiping over the governing meridian. And basically, what happens is you say all these things that came up in session. So, all of these stressors, all of these emotions, all of these imprints that are happening are stressors to your system. So now we've identified everything that's a stressor. And then when we swipe over the governing meridian, it basically tells the system like Control Alt Delete is the
Hmm.
easiest way to explain it. And so we're saying like, okay, now we're making all of this neutral and allowing the body to essentially neutralize the charge, right? So if you think of all of these things as frequency, because I mean, that's all we're doing, right? We're finding the frequency of the stored charge in your system. If you think of them as these active frequencies in the body, we're basically saying, hey, you can release now. And yeah, swiping over the governing meridian deletes it. Yeah. And then I also use prayer when I
Okay.
did. Yeah,
And so, does the client have to do it, or are you doing that remotely? And how
I
does
do
it
it
work when
remotely.
it's totally remote?
So I do it remotely and I'm connecting to essentially your field. So if I were clearing you, it's so funny. I never explained this because I've just been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
But we all have our own unique energetic signature, right? And
Hmm.
so I am connecting to you and your frequency, your energy, and then using my body essentially just becomes a vessel, a proxy
Hmm.
for that. And then I'm clearing on your own behalf. It's the same way you're going to be doing like distance Reiki, distance cranial sacral, things like that. We're just connecting to the field, right?
Hmm. Yeah. I use bioenergetic testing and I always am like, we could do it remotely. Uh, it sounds really insane, but it still
Sounds
works.
totally. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you've seen it. Like do you have the Quest or do you do
Yeah, I have a colleague who has the Quest and she
okay.
runs my scans. But I mean, I've been doing it remotely with her like the whole time. And,
Totally.
I always give examples of like when I was flying and traveling last year, things would come up on there about like specific location stuff or altitude effects of altitude and
Yeah.
stuff that was 100% relevant. And
Yeah.
I'm not filling out any forms. Like I'm
Totally.
not doing any of that. It was just coming up, which is also why, especially like when you know yourself, you know your pattern so well,
Yeah.
you've done a million labs and you do bioenergetics or the clearing or the technique that you're doing, and the same things are coming up. You're like, I trust this. This has
Totally.
not led me
Well,
astray.
I'll never forget like when I was first learning to do this and I was like, they were like, okay, you can muscle test someone else.
Hmm.
Like like I was so scared. And then the second I started muscle testing them, I was like, well, these are not my emotions. Like
Yeah.
it's like you know yourself so well. And I was like, well, this is not me. And then as I'm going through session, they're like, oh my gosh, how did you know? And then they just start telling you all of these things that they're experiencing that are connected to the thing that came up. Right.
Hmm.
And one of I don't love doing proxy sessions. So proxy sessions are typically where like we're not in relationship on like a call and I'm just doing a clearing for someone. And I do them for certain clients, and a lot of times like they won't give me any context. And so they'll just be like, "Hey, can you do a proxy today? We'll do like an intuitive clearing, whatever their body's wanting to let go of." that day. And I always send them a voice memo afterwards of everything that came up. And I have no context, right? Like I'm like, hey, like, are you dealing with something related to this? Like a lot of this came up, like a lot of this came up in your field. There's something related to this. And they'll always come back and be like, oh my gosh, how did you know this, this, and this is going on? This is exactly what I'm feeling. This is exactly what's been going on. And then afterwards, it's like, I feel so much better about that thing, right? And it's just, I mean, once you've been doing this for so long, you're just like, yeah, like I've
Of
heard,
course it works.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course it works. I've had thousands of people tell me it works, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also, can you speak a little bit about like how your relationship with your clients is also part of why this works so well?
Yeah,
Like, I don't think like if you just without being in relationship to somebody else and being witnessed, it's not as powerful.
I completely agree. And I think, there's a lot of people out there who do emotional release work, but a lot of them take the human out of it. And I think
Mm,
the human is one of the most important parts of it. I mean, co-regulation, as we know, is just so foundational to healing. And so when you come in and you're being held, seen, and witnessed by someone who is safe, right? Someone
mhm.
who's not judging you and someone who's actually facilitating your body in that release versus the part of you that's had to do everything yourself, right?
Yeah,
And I mean, building trust is so important. It's why in my first sessions, like we're not doing these huge clearings because you've got to trust me, you've got to trust the method, you've got to trust the modality. Like we've got to build that over time, right?
mhm.
And, I've been doing this work for a long time. And when I first started doing the work, you know, people would come in like, oh, I want to try a session here. Like, and they would use it almost as this like relief tool versus this thing that like really moves them through. And I mean, I have seen time and time again my clients that like really commit and are doing those like really frequent regular sessions are the ones that like transform,
Yep.
right? And when you're just kind of like, oh, I'm going to release some emotions today. Oh, I need help with this thing. Oh,
Yeah,
you stay in the same cycles because it's symptom relief, it's not transformation.
right.
Right.
Because it's just like a coping mechanism, like
Yeah,
eating chips or watching TV would be.
totally. Yeah, you're just like, oh, I just like need to let go of some density today, but I'm not changing anything, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a difference between letting go of what's here and just like feeling lighter, and there's a difference between like I really want to be the witness of my own patterns and actually start to unravel and unwind the things that are keeping me stuck.
Mhm.
And what I've seen that's actually really profound for my clients is like they actually build their own awareness, which has been like, it's like through building the awareness in sessions and then whatever is integrating for them, they come in and they just have all these new insights. And they just, they're building their own healing when they're being held in that container, which is
Mhm.
really powerful.
Yeah, because you start to like once you are aware, you can't become unaware.
Yeah.
It just you start to notice more and more things, and you're like, oh, all of these things make sense and are connected. And it's kind of like opening a door you can't shut. Like you either
Yeah.
have to keep going forward or you start to reach for more things to numb the awareness, which you're just going backwards and
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
I'm like aware. I always talk about this. I'm like, sometimes I wish I was blissfully unaware still.
Yeah.
Awareness is a blessing and a curse, right?
No, I have some friends where I'm like, man, they're still doing that same old stuff. Like, I don't
Totally.
wish that I was still that way. No, that was way harder. Actually, that's a good segue into the next question. Tell me about how your life is different, like emotionally, physically, like how you show up differently, how you feel differently about certain things 6 years ago versus today. Because you said your life is like now finally in that
Totally.
year phase.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just a total 180. Like, I mean, like when I think about it's like almost hard to think about like 6 years ago what my life was. Like, I mean, I was one a prisoner of my own body, right? I was a prisoner of the symptoms. I was scared. I was fearful. I didn't trust anyone. But then beyond that, like I was so emotionally reactive. And if we even go back like before everything got really bad for me and you look at like my 20s, right, when I was still functional, like there was so much volatility in me emotionally. And I was so in my head. I was so insecure. I had really low self-worth, like all of these different things, right? I had issues in relationships. I mean, there was just I had no ability to regulate myself and like be with my experience, right? And it was just a really volatile time for me. And it's interesting going through this journey. I mean, if you look at 6 years ago, I mean, there was a total, complete lack of safety in my body. And over the 6 years, and I talk about this a lot, people are like, oh, they say you can't heal if you don't feel safe, but like, I don't feel safe. So, like, how do I get there? And it's like, safety isn't this like one day you're here and one day you're here. It's
Right.
this like constant re-evolution, like re-understanding of what safety is. And like, I think that's been one of the biggest threads for me the last 6 years is like every year I've redefined what safety is for myself. And like, now when I think about how I am, like my baseline is so steady, right? My
Yeah.
baseline is so grounded. Like I wake up and like I just feel here. And like, yeah, no, I still have symptoms, like they still come, but like I move through them, right? I have
Yeah.
the tools to move through them. Like I don't get stuck in them. Like it's just, and I have a life. Like I eat freely. I do what I want. I live now. And I think that's like so, it's just been so profound. And like, I even think about my capacity for work, my capacity for relationships, my capacity to like juggle things is just so much larger. Um, and relationships, I think for me has been, and self-worth have been like huge transformations for me where like, I mean, I used to be really volatile with my family and like I'm not now, right? Like it's like
Uh,
I'm like the mediator now.
yeah.
And just being able to like set boundaries, be in your truth. I mean, it's just everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's where we're a little bit different because I was actually way more shut down and already like a
Mm.
therapist and the mediator, but it was more of like I would never consider myself a people pleaser, but I was kind of like making the assumption that I could handle things other people couldn't handle. So I would self-abandon so that they could be okay.
Oh, I totally was a people pleaser.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't like that word because I was like, I don't care what other people think, right? But I
Totally.
was like, they're fragile. I'm strong
I can do
because I was
this.
so shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so technically it was still kind of like, I can't handle other people's emotions, so I'll do anything to avoid them strategy.
Mhm.
But yeah, totally can agree. Like also in family relationships when you change, the rest of your family dynamics change too. So I'm sure
Totally.
you also experience
Oh,
that. Like if I'm not like this, they're not the way that they've always been either.
yeah.
And your family gets stable.
Well, and it's so beautiful too. I think, so often like we're the victim of everything that happened to us, right? We're the victim of our
Mhm.
family dynamics, like the way that people are, the way that people treat me. Like, I mean, it's such a big thread in this space, right? And in our own healing. And what was so powerful for me is like, I mean, sometimes it still does, but for the most part, like people's behavior don't hold charge for me anymore, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm not the victim of the way that people in my family behave. Like I'm able to just see them as like this is who they are. This is the
Yeah.
way that they behave. This is the way that they move through life. And I can accept and love them as they are and not need to take it personally. Right.
Mhm.
And it's like, I mean, be like the ability to create that space and dynamics in your life is like, I mean, it's one of the most freeing things in the world.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, I mean, I used to be a walking trigger fest. Like everything triggered me, right? And it's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, and Cass is like you were at war with the rest of
The
the
world,
world, even with yourself. Like you're
totally.
at war all of the time.
All the time. No one understands me. Nobody sees what I'm going through. Everyone's against me, right? I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about the threat of chronic illness, right? It's like so deeply rooted
Mhm.
there. And it's not that things were perfect, right? Like there were things that weren't great, but holding on to that only hurts you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your practice now. What do you have going on? Where can people find you?
Yeah. There's currently two practitioners in my practice. So myself, I do one-on-one work with clients, like I mentioned, in those deeper containers. And then I also have an associate practitioner, Nikki, who's taking one-on-one clients. And she, similar to us, has been through the gamut of the chronic illness healing journey and just brings so much beauty to her sessions and her clients. And then I am currently in the process of launching Self Healers Academy. And Self Healers Academy is going to be a 12-week course, not a course that is going to heal you in every way and everything in 12 weeks. But the
Right.
goal of this course is to give you these two foundational tools that you can then take with you for your life through your healing. And so, really teaching you one, how to muscle test, how to actually trust yourself with your muscle testing. And so, that's going to be a big concept there. But then also, how to use that to start to understand what's underneath all the triggers, the emotions that you're experiencing in your life. And so, really being able to, in the moment when you're activated, come into that resolution for yourself. So, I'm really excited about that. We kick off in May, and you can find me, I think that was your question, Instagram at Paula Marie Wellness. And then my website is paulamariesalas.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel like what I noticed a couple years ago was the people that were healing and that I saw like actual changes, they learned something, whether it was this modality or that modality or something else that allowed them to trust themselves and to
Yes.
find that like North Star.
Yes. And
Like,
all of my clients who have learned to muscle test are always the ones who are like figuring it out for themselves because they trust,
yeah.
right? And it's not just muscle testing, right? But it's like you said, like the North Star. And I
Hmm.
think that's why you see a lot of practitioners who have healed, right? Because we
Yeah.
learned to trust ourselves. And then you get to leverage practitioners as your guides, not your gods.
Yeah.
And
Good point.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. Yeah, thank you, Paula, so much. This has been awesome. I'm so glad we finally got to sit down and
Same.
talk about our journeys.
All the things.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. And this should be out after May. So,
Okay.
your course should be out by then,
Yeah.
right? Okay, perfect. So you should be able to find her course and work with Paula on her website.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Paula.
Have a good
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. I am just so thrilled that you're listening to the Healer Revolution podcast. This has been a huge passion project for me and super therapeutic on top of that, helping me to use my voice and connect with other like-minded individuals. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please share on social media or with your audience or friends or loved ones. I truly appreciate it. It does take a lot of time and financial costs to run the podcast, and it is not a moneymaker, let me tell you. So if you are enjoying this, I would truly appreciate your support just by sending me a post, a like, and a subscribe. Thank you so much.